company has just launched a new online shop that will thrill car buffs everywhere.
Dealerships are finally facing the reckoning many car buyers have been waiting for. For decades, dealerships have dominated the car buying process, controlling every detail from pricing to financing. But now, that power is slipping away faster than they ever imagined. And for dealerships, it might be the end of their golden era. So what exactly is tearing apart this age-old system? Why are dealerships scrambling to stop this shift? How are they fighting back? Most importantly, what does this mean for you? Could this finally change how you buy your next car forever? Let's find out. What exactly happened? The automotive industry is undergoing a seismic shift. For over a century, the dealership model has been the gatekeeper between automakers and car buyers. If you've ever walked into a dealership and felt overwhelmed by hidden fees, long negotiations, or relentless upselling, you're not alone. This frustration is exactly why the direct-to-consumer model is gaining momentum. It all started with electric vehicle companies like Tesla. Tesla's decision to bypass traditional dealerships and sell cars directly to consumers was revolutionary. It gave buyers a streamlined process. No haggling, no hidden markups, just straightforward pricing. Rivian and Lucid soon followed, adopting the same strategy. Suddenly, the dealership model didn't seem so essential anymore. But now, it's not just new EV brands shaking things up. Legacy automakers, the giants like Ford and Volkswagen, are starting to experiment with this model. Volkswagen's announcement of Scout Motors as a direct-to-consumer brand is the latest domino to fall, and it has dealerships furious. This shift isn't just about convenience, it's about taking control. Automakers are realizing that they don't need dealerships to sell vehicles in an EV-dominated future. The question is, how long can dealerships hold onto their power? A broken model. The traditional dealership model is built on control. Dealerships control pricing, financing, and even the flow of information. For consumers, this has often meant frustration, confusion, and feeling like you're being taken advantage of. Let's talk about the buying process. You've probably experienced it. You walk into a dealership ready to buy the car you've spent weeks researching, but instead of a straightforward transaction, you're hit with surprise fees, extended warranties you didn't ask for, and a final price that's miles away from the sticker price. And don't forget the hours spent waiting, negotiating, and being passed from one salesperson to another. It's exhausting. And yet this broken model persists. Why? Because it's profitable for dealerships. The longer they keep you in their office, the more opportunities they have to upsell and maximize their profits. Hidden fees, financing markups, and service contracts are all part of the game. But here's the thing, consumers hate this process. Studies show that trust in dealerships is at an all-time low, with only a small percentage of buyers saying they fully trust their dealer. This dissatisfaction is a big reason why direct-to-consumer sales are resonating with so many buyers. It's simple, transparent, and puts the power back in your hands. Caught in the crossfire. When dealerships fight back against the direct-to-consumer model, it doesn't just stay in courtrooms or boardrooms. It directly impacts you as a car buyer. First, the resistance from dealerships means that in many states, buying a car still requires going through the traditional, often frustrating dealership process. This pushback delays progress toward a more transparent, straightforward car buying experience. But what if automakers win this battle? That could change everything. Imagine a world where you can log onto a website, pick out your car, customize it, and have it delivered to your door, all without stepping foot into a dealership. No haggling, no surprise fees, just a streamlined process. That's the promise of the direct-to-consumer model, and it's why so many consumers are rooting for this shift. For the industry, this fight represents a major turning point. If automakers succeed in bypassing dealerships, it could lead to a complete restructuring of how cars are sold. Dealerships might be forced to adapt, perhaps transitioning into service centers or focusing on fleet sales instead of individual buyers. This could be good news for consumers, as it could push the industry toward more customer-focused practices. However, the transition won't be smooth. Dealership lobbying groups like the National Automobile Dealers Association aren't going down without a fight. They argue that dealerships create jobs, boost local economies, and provide important services to communities. If dealerships start closing en masse, those economic contributions could shrink, leading to ripple effects across the industry. For you, the immediate impact might come in the form of delayed change. As lawsuits and lobbying slow down the adoption of direct-to-consumer sales, you may still find yourself stuck navigating the old dealership model, but make no mistake, the industry is changing. Whether dealerships adapt or fade away, this battle will reshape how we buy cars in the years to come. But why are they fighting back? If you think dealerships are taking this shift lying down, think again. The backlash from dealerships has been swift and aggressive. After Volkswagen announced Scout Motors would adopt a direct-to-consumer model, dealerships wasted no time responding. Within hours, dealership groups were threatening lawsuits, claiming that this move undermines their long-standing partnership with automakers. Why are dealerships so angry? It boils down to money and control. Dealerships thrive on markups and fees that the direct-to-consumer model eliminates. Without the ability to upsell or inflate prices, their profit margins shrink dramatically. Plus, if automakers control the sales process, they also control customer data, something dealerships rely on for future sales and service revenue. But it's not just about profits. For decades, dealerships have been protected by franchise laws that require automakers to sell through them. These laws, originally designed to ensure fair competition, now serve as a safety net for dealerships, preventing automakers from cutting them out entirely. With direct-to-consumer sales, these protections are under threat, and dealerships are scrambling to maintain their grip on the industry. What's more, the success of Tesla, Rivian, and other direct-to-consumer brands has shown automakers that dealerships aren't as essential as they once were. For dealerships, this realization is terrifying. They're not just fighting for profits, they're fighting for survival. The EV loophole. Electric vehicles are the key to this revolution. Unlike traditional cars, EVs don't rely as heavily on dealership services like maintenance and repairs. With fewer moving parts, EVs require less servicing, which means dealerships lose a significant revenue stream. This makes the direct-to-consumer model even more appealing to automakers. Tesla paved the way by proving that you can sell EVs without dealerships. Now, legacy automakers are following suit. Brands like Volvo, through its Polestar division, have adopted hybrid models that combine direct sales with service centers. Scout Motors is taking it a step further by bypassing dealerships entirely. But how are they getting away with it? The answer lies in the EV loophole. Since many franchise laws were written before EVs became mainstream, they don't explicitly account for electric-only brands. This has allowed companies like Tesla to skirt traditional dealership requirements, opening the door for others to do the same. However, this loophole isn't foolproof. Dealerships are pushing back harder than ever, lobbying for tighter regulations and filing lawsuits to protect their territory. The battle is far from over, and the stakes are higher than ever, not just for dealerships, but for the future of car buying as we know it. Volkswagen and Scout Motors. When Volkswagen announced its plan to revive Scout Motors as a direct-to-consumer brand, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it set the dealership world on fire. The idea that a legacy automaker, one that dealerships had worked with for decades, would circumvent them entirely was nothing short of an earthquake for the industry. Scout Motors, a name long associated with rugged off-road utility vehicles, is now being positioned as a trailblazer for electric vehicle sales. But its direct-to-consumer model didn't sit well with dealerships. The outrage from dealerships was immediate. Within half a day of Volkswagen's announcement, dealership groups across the United States were mobilizing. Threats of lawsuits began pouring in, with representatives from dealership organizations calling the decision a betrayal of the long-standing partnership between automakers and their franchise dealers. The uproar wasn't just about a single brand, it was about the precedent this decision could set. If Scout Motors could bypass dealerships, what would stop Volkswagen or any other automaker from doing the same with other vehicle lines? For dealerships, this wasn't just a business decision, it was an existential threat. Why dealers feel betrayed. At the heart of the dealership backlash lies a sense of betrayal. For decades, dealerships have acted as the middleman between automakers and consumers. They have been the face of car sales, the ones who deal with the day-to-day interactions of selling, servicing, and financing vehicles. To many dealerships, the move to direct-to-consumer sales feels like a vote of no confidence in their role. The frustration is compounded by what dealerships see as a double standard. Automakers like Volkswagen have historically relied on dealerships to carry the burden of selling their vehicles. Dealerships invest heavily in facilities, training, inventory, and marketing, all to ensure the success of the automaker's products. For Volkswagen to turn around and bypass that infrastructure feels like a slap in the face. But there's more to the story. Dealerships make their money in ways that direct-to-consumer models threaten to eliminate. Hidden fees, financing markups, and high-margin service packages are bread and butter for most dealerships. A direct-to-consumer model with its transparent pricing and streamlined processes jeopardizes these revenue streams. For dealerships, it's not just about principle, it's about survival. The financial fallout. If the direct-to-consumer model becomes the norm, the financial implications for dealerships could be devastating. Dealership profits are built on more than just selling cars. In fact, the actual sale of a vehicle often represents a relatively small percentage of their overall revenue. Much of their income comes from add-ons, financing, and service contracts, all areas where dealerships can exert significant control over pricing. For example, when you finance a car through a dealership, they often act as an intermediary between you and a bank. While this might seem convenient, it's also a way for dealerships to tack on additional costs. They might secure a loan at a competitive rate, but then offer it to you with a higher interest rate, pocketing the difference. In a direct-to-consumer model, this practice disappears. Automakers like Scout Motors and Tesla offer financing directly, cutting out the middleman. The same goes for service contracts and warranties. Dealerships often sell extended warranties at a markup, promising peace of mind while quietly padding their bottom line. With direct-to-consumer sales, these add-ons can be bundled transparently into the purchasing process, leaving less room for hidden costs. Without these profit streams, many dealerships would struggle to stay afloat. For smaller, family-owned dealerships, the stakes are especially high. These businesses, often staples of their local communities, face the prospect of being pushed out by a model that doesn't require them at all. Lawsuits and lobbying. The response from dealerships has been as fierce as it is predictable. Lawsuits are already being prepared, with dealership groups arguing that Volkswagen's decision violates franchise agreements and state laws designed to protect the dealership model. These agreements, many of which date back several decades, were created to ensure fair competition and prevent automakers from monopolizing the sales process. But the legal landscape is changing. Many of these laws were written long before the rise of electric vehicles, direct-to-consumer sales, and digital marketplaces. Dealerships are pushing for these laws to be updated, hoping to close the loopholes that allow companies like Tesla and Scout Motors to operate outside the traditional system. Lobbying efforts have also ramped up. The National Automobile Dealers Association, one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the United States, has been working tirelessly to protect the dealership model. They argue that dealerships play a critical role in local economies, providing jobs, generating tax revenue, and serving as a point of contact for consumers. Their message is clear: eliminating dealerships could have far-reaching consequences, not just for the automotive industry, but for communities across the country. Ripple effects across the industry. The fallout from this shift extends far beyond dealerships. Automakers themselves face challenges as they adapt to a new sales model. Building a direct-to-consumer infrastructure isn't cheap. It requires investment in technology, logistics, and customer service, all areas where automakers have traditionally relied on dealerships. For legacy automakers like Volkswagen, the stakes are particularly high. Unlike Tesla, which was built from the ground up as a direct-to-consumer brand, companies like Volkswagen have decades of history tied to the dealership model. Making the transition requires navigating not only logistical hurdles, but also the backlash from dealerships and their lobbyists. Suppliers and third-party service providers are also feeling the impact. As automakers take more control over the sales process, they're likely to exert greater influence over the supply chain. This could lead to changes in how parts are sourced, distributed, and serviced, potentially disrupting long-standing relationships within the industry. Adaptation or extinction? As the battle between dealerships and automakers rages on, one thing is clear: the automotive industry is at a crossroads. For dealerships, survival depends on their ability to adapt. Some are already exploring new business models, focusing on areas like fleet sales, subscription services, and electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Others are doubling down on service and repairs, hoping to carve out a niche in a rapidly changing landscape. Automakers too face difficult choices. While the direct-to-consumer model offers significant benefits, it's not without its challenges. Building consumer trust, maintaining a high level of service, and navigating legal obstacles will be critical to the success of this model. For companies like Scout Motors, the road ahead is uncharted, and the stakes couldn't be higher. For consumers, the outcome of this battle could redefine what it means to buy a car. Whether you're rooting for the automakers, the dealerships, or somewhere in between, one thing is certain: the way we buy, sell, and service cars is changing, and it's changing fast. Why dealerships hate transparency? For consumers, transparency is a breath of fresh air. For dealerships, it's a direct threat to their business model. The traditional dealership structure relies heavily on complexity to generate profits, and the direct-to-consumer model challenges that at every turn. One of the biggest areas where dealerships profit is financing. When you finance a car through a dealership, they often act as a middleman between you and the lender. What many buyers don't realize is that dealerships typically add a markup to the loan's interest rate, pocketing the difference. Over the life of the loan, this can cost you thousands of dollars. With direct-to-consumer sales, automakers offer financing directly, cutting out the dealership and saving you money. Then there are the fees. Dealerships are notorious for tacking on additional charges, from vague documentation fees to inflated delivery and preparation fees. These extra costs can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the price of a vehicle. Direct-to-consumer models eliminate these fees, offering a clear, all-inclusive price that doesn't leave you guessing. Extended warranties are another major profit center. While they may seem like a good deal, dealerships often sell them at a significant markup. Automakers selling directly can integrate warranties into their pricing, providing better value for the buyer. For dealerships, this loss of control over pricing and profits is alarming. Transparency forces them to compete on a level playing field where their ability to inflate costs or confuse buyers is significantly reduced. It's a challenge to their way of doing business, and they're not taking it lightly. The battle for control. The battle between automakers and dealerships isn't just about pricing, it's about power. For decades, dealerships have acted as gatekeepers, controlling every aspect of the car buying process. They decide which vehicles to stock, how much to charge, and how to structure financing and warranties. This control has given them significant influence over the industry and allowed them to shape the consumer experience to their advantage. Direct-to-consumer sales threaten to dismantle this structure. By selling vehicles directly to buyers, automakers regain control over pricing, inventory, and customer interactions. This shift doesn't just benefit consumers, it also allows automakers to innovate and respond to market demands more quickly. For dealerships, this loss of control is deeply unsettling. It's not just about losing profits, it's about losing relevance. If automakers can sell cars without them, what role do dealerships play in the future of the industry? This existential question is driving dealerships to fight back with everything they've got, from legal challenges to aggressive lobbying efforts. At the same time, automakers are doubling down on their commitment to direct-to-consumer sales. They see this as the future of the industry, a way to modernize the car buying experience and build stronger relationships with their customers. For companies like Scout Motors, this isn't just a business strategy, it's a mission to redefine how cars are sold. The future of dealerships. As the industry shifts toward direct-to-consumer sales, dealerships are facing an uncertain future. For many, survival will depend on their ability to adapt to a changing landscape. Some are already exploring new business models that emphasize areas where they can still add value. One possibility is specialization. Instead of trying to be all things to all people, dealerships could focus on specific niches, such as servicing electric vehicles, offering fleet solutions, or managing subscription-based ownership plans. By becoming experts in these areas, dealerships could carve out a role in the evolving automotive ecosystem. Another option is to embrace a hybrid model. Automakers like Volvo, through its Polestar division, have demonstrated that it's possible to combine direct-to-consumer sales with dealership support. In this model, dealerships serve as service centers and delivery hubs rather than traditional sales outlets. This approach allows dealerships to remain part of the process while adapting to new consumer expectations. Some dealerships are also focusing on enhancing the customer experience. Personalized service, extended test drive options, and loyalty programs could help differentiate dealerships from online alternatives. For consumers who value face-to-face interactions and hands-on experiences, these offerings could make dealerships a more attractive option. However, not all dealerships will make it through this transition. Smaller, family-owned businesses may struggle to compete with larger chains that have the resources to adapt. For these dealerships, the shift to direct-to-consumer sales could mark the end of an era. Automakers' next moves. As the direct-to-consumer revolution gains momentum, automakers are being forced to rethink their strategies. This isn't just about selling cars differently, it's about transforming their entire approach to the market. For traditional automakers like Volkswagen, this shift is both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, it allows them to take control of the customer experience. On the other, it requires significant investment in infrastructure, technology, and logistics to make it work. Companies like Tesla have already set a high standard for what direct-to-consumer sales can achieve. From transparent pricing to seamless online ordering, Tesla has shown that it's possible to bypass dealerships while still delivering an exceptional experience. Legacy automakers are taking note. Some, like Volvo's Polestar brand, have embraced a hybrid model that combines direct sales with dealership support. Others, like Scout Motors, are diving straight into the direct-to-consumer pool. But the transition isn't easy. Building a direct-to-consumer infrastructure requires automakers to rethink everything from how they manage inventory to how they handle customer service. Logistics become a key focus. How do you ensure timely deliveries when you're no longer relying on dealerships to manage the process? Technology is another challenge. Automakers must invest in user-friendly online platforms that make the buying process as smooth and intuitive as possible. For consumers, these changes are mostly positive. A more modern, direct approach to car buying means fewer headaches and more control. For automakers, however, the stakes are high. The companies that adapt quickly will thrive. Those that cling to outdated models risk being left behind. The industry resistance. The shift to direct-to-consumer sales isn't happening without a fight. Across the United States, dealership associations are mounting legal challenges, arguing that automakers are violating long-standing franchise agreements. These agreements were originally designed to protect dealerships from being undercut by the manufacturers they represent. In many states, they've been enshrined into law, making it illegal for automakers to sell cars directly to consumers. But the rise of electric vehicles has created a gray area, since many of these laws were written long before the advent of modern electric cars. They don't account for brands that are exclusively electric and don't rely on traditional dealerships. Companies like Tesla have used this loophole to build a direct-to-consumer empire. Now, other automakers are trying to follow suit, and dealerships are doing everything in their power to stop them. Lobbying efforts have intensified as dealerships push for stricter regulations. The National Automobile Dealers Association, one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the country, has been vocal in its opposition to direct-to-consumer sales. They argue that dealerships are essential to local economies, providing jobs, tax revenue, and valuable services to consumers. Automakers counter that the traditional model is outdated and inefficient, pointing to consumer surveys that show widespread dissatisfaction with the dealership experience. These legal battles are more than just procedural skirmishes. They're a fight for the future of the automotive industry. If dealerships succeed in blocking direct-to-consumer sales, it could slow down the adoption of electric vehicles and stall innovation. If automakers prevail, it could spell the beginning of the end for the traditional dealership model. Consumer trust and power. One of the biggest factors driving this shift is the erosion of trust in dealerships. Surveys consistently show that consumers rank car dealerships among the least trusted businesses in the United States. Hidden fees, high-pressure sales tactics, and opaque pricing have left many buyers feeling disillusioned with the traditional car buying process. Direct-to-consumer sales offer a way to rebuild that trust. By eliminating intermediaries and focusing on transparency, automakers can create a more honest, straightforward relationship with their customers. This is especially important for younger buyers who have grown up with e-commerce and expect the same level of convenience and clarity when buying a car as they do when ordering a smartphone. But trust isn't just about the buying process, it's also about what happens after the sale. Automakers moving to direct-to-consumer models must ensure that their service and support systems are robust enough to meet customer expectations. This includes everything from timely deliveries to responsive customer service and effective solutions for maintenance and repairs. For consumers, this shift represents a significant increase in power. With direct-to-consumer sales, you're no longer at the mercy of a dealership's pricing and policies. Instead, you can make informed decisions based on clear, consistent information. It's a fundamental change in the dynamic between buyers and sellers, and it's long overdue. The crossroads. The automotive industry stands at a crossroads, and the decisions made today will shape its future for decades to come. For dealerships, the choice is clear: adapt or risk extinction. Some are embracing the opportunity, exploring new ways to serve customers and add value in a rapidly changing market. Others are digging in their heels, fighting to preserve a system that no longer aligns with consumer expectations. For automakers, the stakes are equally high. The direct-to-consumer model offers the promise of greater control, stronger customer customer relationships and increased profitability. But it also comes with risks, from logistical challenges to legal battles with entrenched dealership associations. For consumers, this is a pivotal moment. The changes happening in the automotive industry are ultimately designed to serve you, making the process of buying, owning, and maintaining a car more transparent, efficient, and empowering. Whether you're rooting for the automakers, the dealerships, or somewhere in between, one thing is certain: the way we buy cars is changing, and it's changing fast. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.